Can you understand this story? Stay until the end to test yourself.
Sarah looked at her calendar and felt her stomach tighten. Today was the day of the important conference call with clients from 3 different countries. She had been preparing for this meeting for 2 weeks. The call was scheduled for 9 o'clock in the morning. Sarah arrived at the office early to test all the equipment. She turned on her computer and opened the video conferencing software. Everything seemed to be working perfectly. Her colleague Mark walked into the conference room with a cup of coffee. "Are you ready for the big call?" he asked with a smile. "I think so," Sarah replied, but her voice sounded uncertain. Mark placed his hand on her shoulder to reassure her. "You have prepared everything thoroughly," he said. "The clients will be impressed by your presentation." Sarah nodded and tried to take a deep breath. At exactly 9 o'clock, the first participant joined the call. It was Mr. Tanaka from the Tokyo office. "Good morning, everyone," he said politely. Sarah greeted him and noticed it was already evening in Japan. She appreciated that he was willing to join the call so late. A few minutes later, Mrs. Schmidt from the Berlin office connected. Finally, Mr. Rodriguez from the Madrid office appeared on screen. All the participants were now present. Sarah began by welcoming everyone to the meeting. She shared her screen to show the presentation slides. The first few slides went smoothly without any problems. However, suddenly the screen froze. Sarah's heart started beating faster. "Can everyone still see my screen?" she asked nervously. Mr. Tanaka replied that he could only see a frozen image. Mark quickly stood up and checked the internet connection. "The bandwidth seems low," he reported. Sarah decided to stop sharing her screen temporarily. She continued the presentation by describing the slides verbally. It was not ideal, but she had to adapt to the situation. Mrs. Schmidt asked a question about the budget projections. Sarah answered confidently because she knew the numbers well. The internet connection started to improve after a few minutes. Sarah was able to share her screen again. The clients seemed relieved to see the visual presentation. Mr. Rodriguez raised his hand to ask about the delivery timeline. This was a sensitive topic that required careful explanation. Sarah explained that there had been some delays in the supply chain. However, the team was working hard to solve these issues. She promised to send a detailed report by the end of the week. Mr. Rodriguez nodded and seemed satisfied with this answer. The meeting continued for another 45 minutes. Each participant had the opportunity to share their concerns. Sarah took detailed notes of all the feedback. She wanted to make sure nothing would be forgotten. Near the end of the call, Mr. Tanaka asked about the next meeting. Sarah proposed scheduling it for the following month. Everyone agreed that this would give them enough time to prepare. Mrs. Schmidt thanked Sarah for organizing such a productive meeting. The compliment made Sarah feel proud of her work. At exactly 10:30, the conference call ended. Sarah leaned back in her chair and let out a deep sigh. The tension in her shoulders slowly started to fade. Mark came over and gave her a high five. "That was excellent," he exclaimed. "You handled the technical problems very professionally." Sarah smiled and thanked him for his support. She realized that working as a team made difficult situations easier. Later that afternoon, Sarah received an email from Mr. Tanaka. He wrote that he was very pleased with the meeting outcomes. His company wanted to increase their order by 20%. Sarah could not believe what she was reading. This was the best news she had received all month. She immediately forwarded the email to her manager. Her manager replied within minutes with congratulations. He suggested that Sarah should present her success story at the next company meeting. Sarah felt a mixture of pride and nervousness about this. Public speaking was still something she found challenging. However, she decided to accept the opportunity. She believed that stepping out of her comfort zone would help her grow. That evening, Sarah went home feeling accomplished. She thought about all the things that could have gone wrong. The frozen screen had been scary at first. But she had managed to stay calm and find a solution. This experience taught her that preparation is important. However, being flexible when problems arise is equally valuable. She made herself a cup of tea and sat on her couch. Her phone buzzed with a message from Mark. "Congratulations on the order increase," he wrote. "The team deserves a celebration." Sarah agreed and suggested they organize a team lunch. It would be a good way to thank everyone for their hard work. As Sarah finished her tea, she thought about tomorrow. There would be new challenges and new opportunities. She felt ready to face whatever came her way. The experience from today had given her more confidence. She knew that conference calls would always be part of her job. But now she knew she could handle them well. Before going to bed, she wrote down 3 things she was grateful for. First, her supportive colleagues who helped during the call. Second, the clients who appreciated her effort despite the problems. Third, the growth she experienced by overcoming her fears. With these positive thoughts, Sarah closed her notebook. She turned off the lights and went to sleep. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but she was ready. The conference call had been a success, and so would be everything else.
Learn with LingoStories.app.